Good morning, everyone, and welcome with Birding with Extension into the new year. We're excited to kick off our 2020 Cup Chats with Laura Keene, our photography tracks guide for our Birding the Border 2021 program. And so welcome, Laura, and Maureen. Happy New Year to you too.
Yeah, definitely.
So let's first start off. I know Maureen sends us an itinerary, but I like to go off script every time. So let's talk a little bit about New Year's, and if you made any New Year's resolutions, Maureen and Laura.
Well, my New Year's resolution was to continue to try and stay healthy, and I've been trying to eat well, and I really kind of set this pretty much when the pandemic started last year because I'm a goal-setting person. So I said, not the time to be unhealthy. So I've been trying to eat right and get exercise, and I hope to continue that this year.
Oh, that's a good one. Good one. Maureen, any
New Year's resolutions? Well, now I'm going to steal Laura's. No, I'm just kidding. That is a really good one, though. No, actually, can I talk about something else? Because I was super excited to talk about something else, except I have to see if I can make my virtual background go away. Maybe I can't.
Okay. I asked a question you must answer.
I will.
Then you can talk about something else.
Okay. Oh, and then I can talk about something else.
But speaking of which, while you're trying to make your virtual background disappear, if you are joining us, let us know where you're joining us from. And then if you have any questions for Laura, Maureen, or I as we go, just let us know. So put that in the comments. All right. Now you can tell us your New Year's resolution.
Okay. My answer is no, I don't have a New Year's resolution. I don't often set those because I feel like I just kind of set things throughout the year as I feel like they will be useful to me. So I think it's smart that Laura said since the pandemic, just, making sure to stay healthy. And so I don't know. I'm bad about that. I don't normally set New Year's resolutions.
See, that was my thought too, as I made coffee this morning. Is that I don't think I've kept up with a New Year's resolution for the whole year, ever. And so I didn't set one either this year, ever.
Yeah.
So hopefully everybody out there set New Year's resolutions and you're going to stick with it. I'm not. So, okay, Maureen, what did you want to say?
Well, I don't know if I can get my background turned off because for the first time ever, I don't know how I have gone this long without this, but I never had bird earrings. And my sister got me some for Christmas. And so I was going to show them off, except I don't know how to turn off my virtual background because they blend in. Oh, I guess that'll work. Oh, yeah. There you can see. That works. See, I don't know if you can tell it there. They're loons. From Maine. And I think they're so pretty. And I just can't believe I didn't have bird earrings, but now I do. So that's what I want to talk about. Thanks.
I, for one, am proud that you're wearing earrings this morning. I wear earrings all the time. Every day. But I wear the same ones. They don't even come out. All right. So Laura, since we have officially got off track from the itinerary that was sent to you, we will kind of get back on track. So tell us a little bit about yourself. We do want to let everyone know that Laura is our Birding the Border photography tracks guide. So we're super excited about that. It's going to be a smaller group if you're interested in joining her. So tell us a little bit about how you started birding, anything you want to tell us. There are no rules on Cup Chat.
Well, I got hooked on birding during high school field biology. I had a biology teacher who would point out bank swallows and kingfishers on our canoe trips, but the bird that really got my interest and sparked me was an indigo bunting. And that really got me into birding. I bought my first field guide, Peterson's Field Guide, back in the early 70s with my babysitting money. And so I was, in college, I did a few field trips, but then I was in pharmacy school and things got kind of busy with school. So I kind of got away from birding and had, got married, had a busy career, but I always did backyard birding and vacation birding until my kids started fledging. And then I joke about how I got into photography at the same time. And so as my kids all fledged and left the nest, my lenses got longer and longer with each one leaving the nest. And I lived in Ohio, so I had McGee Marsh every spring. So I was there for decades. I would go up there every spring and really got into the photography and just enjoying warblers and and birding, and got involved with the Ohio Ornithological Society. I was the photo editor for the Ohio Cardinal, and then when my husband said that he might need to move to Texas a few years ago for 2 years, it was a 2-year project. I kind of jumped on that because I thought 2 years of living there. Well, we've been here 3 years, and I don't see any time that we're going to be leaving because we just love it here. So I'm enjoying the birds very much in Texas.
Well, that's wonderful. I hate to say it, but I do think that you'd have to prefer the weather here. It stays a little bit more mild in the winter.
Yeah. During August, usually in August, I'm saying, that's the month to be in Ohio, and, because it's so hot. You have to be out very early. And I told my husband, we have to have a house that has some kind of habitat around it when we moved here, and because I know it's going to be super hot, and I don't want to have to be trudging around in 100 degree temperatures, because that just kind of sucks the life out of you. So I joke about how I did the house hunting. He got called away at a meeting, so I did all the house hunting. He didn't see this house until I think about a half hour before we closed on it. And his only thing that he wanted was he wanted a 3-car garage for all of his tools and everything. Well, we didn't get a 3-car garage, but we have golden-cheeked warblers and black-capped vireos nesting in our yard. So I think he really loves it here. And we're building him a workshop this year, hopefully.
Wow. Note to self, don't let Laura go hunting for you. Her priorities.
Yes.
Maybe slightly different.
Okay, but I love the indigo bunting is your spark bird, because I think that's the first bird that Emily was ever like, we will chase this bird. Is that right?
Yes. We didn't even have to chase him. He showed up where we were at. So I had to appreciate him for that.
Yeah. Those are really gorgeous. That's a wonderful spark bird. Any bird that is blue, fat, or fluffy is up my alley. I just think I don't know, those brown ones don't always spark my interest. So you're relatively recent to the photography side of things too, and yet tell us about your big year. First off, tell us about what a big year is, because a lot of the people that watch are beginning birders, and then what a big photography year is and how you kind of rocked that when you did it.
Yeah. Well, a big year, the idea is to start on January 1st and see as many birds as you can in a specific area. It could be your backyard, it could be your state, could be your county. But for me, I decided to do an ABA big year. It was just kind of a dream of mine, that one of those things that I thought I would absolutely never have the opportunity to do. But 2016 seemed like the perfect year to do it. And so I took a year off from life, but I like to say that I took a year off and it was like I learned how to live. I had the best year of my life. And but my goal was to see as many birds as I could and photograph as many birds as I could. Like I said, I'm kind of goal oriented, so I set the goal of seeing 700 birds and photographing 700. But it kind of got out of hand, and as those big years kind of do, and I spent more money than I intended to. But it was a fantastic year, and I ended the year seeing 815 birds in the US and Canada, and photographed 792 of them with identifiable photos. I photographed almost all of them, but not all of them had identifiable photos. So.
That sounds like all my photos.
But wow, that's amazing. I did not realize you'd gone up into Canada.
I started the year in Canada. It was I gave my husband the choice because he was going to be there with me the first weekend of the year. So I said, there's a couple of good birds in Vancouver. There's some in Arizona. There's some in Texas. And he said, I've never been to Vancouver. Let's go to Vancouver. So yeah, it was a fantastic way to start the year. And I, it's you look at the number of birds, but my goal was really to immerse myself in the experience. I do photography, and I really wanted to not just see the birds. I wanted to, just immerse myself, enjoy, learn their behaviors, and just and then see as many mammals as I could. I took pictures of every mammal, every butterfly, every dragonfly I saw too. I mean, I just loved it. And, you think about waiting around for a bird, maybe you spend 3 days at a site waiting for a bird to show up, but I'm taking pictures of other birds there. I'm taking pictures of butterflies there. So, you're never bored when you have a camera in your hand. At least I'm not.
That is amazing.
It's
tell you what, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I tell you what, I think that the photography aspect of being able, like, I like using my binoculars, which is a new recent trend. I used to bird without binoculars, Laura. And but I'm starting to get better at that, about using my binoculars, because I do have they like to say I have fairly decent eyesight. And so as long as they're relatively close, I feel like I can see them better with my eyes. Anyway, long story. But I have gotten to the point where I think that a camera would be so nice to have, because then you could remember and re-see that image multiple times, versus just in my binoculars or right in front of me and then not getting to see that image again, to kind of reinforce all those identification traits and looking at them and looking at that habitat aspect. I do think that is something that I do think eventually Maureen's gonna have to buy me a camera.
Yeah, when I first started and in this position and they gave me a camera with a long lens, I was like, oh, this is a pretty good lens. And then you start going out with bird photographers and you're like, oh, this is a tiny lens. Actually, we have that picture, Em, from the transition ranch of my lens next to I don't know that we ever shared that next to Sandy's lens. Is funny because it's so different. So it's fascinating to me, the different ways that people plan out their big years and, to try to maximize that number of species, like where you start, where you end. That's interesting to me that you started in Vancouver, because I think for a lot of people, when you say, trying to see as many species as possible, starting somewhere cold at first, like, well, are there any birds there? But obviously somewhere north on the coast is going to be different. And there's certain species that are, the north is they're south, they're usually living even farther north than that. So I think that's really interesting. So did you hit all 50 states?
No, I didn't hit all 50 states. I think I had figured it out once. I was in 34 states. Okay. And that's several of them. I wasn't birding in them. I was just driving through them. And, but you're going after the target birds. My goal was to see as many rare birds as I could. So I targeted rare birds to start the year, because I knew all the birds that are there in January are going to be there in December. I mean, all the all the regular birds that are going to be there. So, my goal was to go after the hardest birds first. And so if there was a rare bird, I would chase that. And I thought, oh, I'll do that for the first couple of weeks of the year, and then I'll get all the rare birds. But, it was a good winter. So I kept chasing rarities and then just picking up whatever I could along the way. And then, of course, you have to plan. I had a trip to Attu that I had planned for May. You have certain things that you have set in stone. Right. And I wanted to go to Gamble and St. Paul Island in Alaska in September. So, certain things were set in stone, but for the most part, I almost didn't know where I'd be the next week. So, and I was also still working. I kept my job just doing, long 3-day weekends, and I would, be on call, and I would go into work, which was the most exhausting part of the whole year, because I would sometimes be at work for 16-hour days. But yeah, so that was probably the most exhausting part of it. People think that birding is exhausting, but work is exhausting and birding is fun.
I could not agree more. Well,
okay, so are you gonna ask the next question? Because I'm gonna modify it a little bit.
Okay, keep going.
Sorry, I'm super off. I'm super
world, I just
off the record today.
No worries.
Okay, what is a way that you feel like photography can go hand in hand with learning birds and bird identification? Like, what is a tip that you would give for somebody who's a beginner photographer to also help them with beginning birding?
Well, I think it's a great tool for, identifying birds in your backyard, that you may not be familiar with. And, you take a picture of it, even a bad picture, you can get some of the marks, you look at the bill or the beak and see if there's, see which class that it belongs to. And you can narrow things down quite a bit by your picture. Not all pictures are going to be, 100% perfect that you can identify it from, but at least you can narrow it down based on if you can get the face or the beak, or just the color of the legs, or, you can narrow it down quite a bit. There's a lot of tools out there then you can work with. A lot of things available with different bird apps that you can say the color of the legs is orange and it looks like it's got a warbler bill. So, put it in and find out it's a blackpoll warbler. There's a lot of tools available to beginners.
Well, and if you take a picture of it, and if you take a picture, you have that to go back and look in your photography, in your birding guide. Because if you're sitting out there and then he flies away, before you can find him in your bird guide with your binoculars, kind of up a creek without a paddle.
Right. And I find that, your memory of when you look at something, you don't always register the important parts of it. You kind of get an impression a lot of times, and that can be really, really wrong. So, having a picture gives you a concrete basis to work from when you're trying to identify it.
Yeah.
That's a good point, because we talk about the importance of impression, like, general impression of size and shape, and that's important. But when you're beginning and you don't necessarily know what part of that impression to focus on, you may, just be impressed by, like we've talked about before, like colors can really stand out to you, or some kind of abnormal feature, and you don't remember to pay attention closely to the bill. And so then if you aren't doing that in the moment, you may be looking through identification you didn't pay attention to to the color of the legs. But then you can go back later and check if you have a photo of it.
Yeah.
Well, and like the other day when I was driving and I saw that hawk and I texted you and Brian, I was driving so fast. I had other than a few distinguishing traits, that's all I had. And then it was so hard because to match the picture with what I had seen, because the picture just wasn't identical to what my memory said I saw. And so, had I had a picture, of course, Brian would have identified it in less than 3.5 seconds. But I at least would have had that to go back and review versus my 75 mile an hour memory picture.
Yeah. Last March, my husband and I were taking our dinner out to eat outside, and as I look up, because I'm always looking at birds all the time, but I look up and I see a hawk that is hovering super, super high, and it's just hovering up there. And, with the bear, it wasn't connecting, like there shouldn't be any hawks here right now that would be hovering like that. It was early for migrating hawks. And so I thought it's going to be gone by the time I run in and grab my camera. And most of the time I have my camera with me. I don't know why I didn't. I was probably carrying stuff outside, but I ran in, I came back out, and just as I put my camera up, bird just bolted, did a huge dive. And I was able to grab a few shots of it. And I'm looking at this, even with the pictures, I'm looking at it and it's not connecting, but it turned out to be a short-tailed hawk, which is actually pretty rare. And so I submitted the pictures to the records committee for Texas, and it got accepted. But if I hadn't had a camera, I would have never known what that was. I would have just had the impression of something, but I couldn't see the details well enough to identify it. So that was
that's very cool.
That's so cool.
And also brings up the important point of when you are trying to get a record of something, when you do truly see something rare, and that's something we talked about with beginners, is sometimes it might look unusual or it doesn't look exactly like the book, but there's a lot of common reasons for for common birds to not look exactly right. But sometimes you do run across something rare. And so right now, wrapping up Christmas bird count, the things that we, thankfully, I think there was one rare species from Uvalde that we didn't get a photo of, but all the others we did. And so that really, really helps when the state compiler is verifying, what you saw, because they can see those identifying marks and say, yep, that was an anhinga, that was a peregrine falcon. So
yeah.
Check out your digiscoping yesterday on Instagram. Look at
Yes,
you.
yeah, for that from 3 years ago. Yeah, we had a scissor-tailed flycatcher, and the whole group of us saw it, which for Christmas bird count, we all had clear identification, but it was even better that we had some pictures to say, yep, for sure that's what it was.
So let's talk a little bit about birding with a professional photography guide. What's the difference just going out birding, maybe being a photographer, and what is your opinion about going out and birding with or photographing with a professional guide? What's the difference, and what are kind of the benefits that you see for having that guide and that experience when you're out birding?
Yeah, I think it's the experience is probably drawing on another person's experience is probably the biggest advantage. Like my goal this year was to, like I said, I'm a goal setter. So once things kind of got out of hand and you're going to be stuck at home for a while, I just set a goal of trying to get the best pictures of the endemic species in my backyard, painted buntings and every bird. And so, I think you learn a lot from someone who has the experience that, bird behavior is, to me, the biggest part of bird photography is understanding the bird's behavior and observing their habits. And, it sets it up that the right time to snap the shutter, the best time to snap the shutter. You watch them, how they come in for a drink of water, and they do it all differently. Like black-capped vireo well, they don't come down and take a nice leisurely bath. They perch up in the tree and then they dive down and do a splash and then go back up in the tree and preen. So very seldom, except maybe they do this like 3 or 4 times, but sometimes on the 4th dip, they might perch on the little stick I've got above the fountain. So then I've got that one opportunity to get a picture of them perched. So, you just kind of watch and you learn, and then, others can draw on your experience. And, light conditions are never perfect, very, very seldom perfect, but, I think someone that's experienced can figure out the best ways to deal with the light and the shadows. And, so that is also an advantage to have someone who can kind of guide you through that.
So true. Now, and obviously with your big year being out and about, you do both photography in the field, but also you have done sitting in some blinds. Kind of, you like both. What's your preference? Do you have a preference?
I would rather have a bad picture of a great bird than to have a great picture of a common bird. And that's just my personal, I get excited to, my favorite pictures that I have are probably my worst, but they're rare birds that I managed to catch a picture of and identify. And so that's just my personal preference. Sometimes I think I'm more of a birder than a photographer, and sometimes I think I'm more of a photographer than a birder, kind of go back and forth.
So speaking of rare birds, there's been rare birds all across the state this year.
It's
So
crazy.
where have you gone? What have you chased? Have you chased anything, or have you been at home?
No, I've chased, I don't do state listing, but I did go down to Asteria on a Grande and see the elegant trogon. And, but actually in my backyard, this has just been such a crazy year. Normally I have a lot of hummingbirds, but, I'll have a couple of rufous that usually hang around until January. But this year I've had 7 species of hummingbirds in my yard, and I had as many as like 10 yesterday. I had like 4 Anna's hummingbirds and 1 Allen's and several rufous hummingbirds. So it's been just an incredible year for hummingbirds. Here I've got a white-tipped dove that belongs down in the valley in my backyard. Cool. And so it's been kind of, I don't feel like I've really had to chase that much, but I'm just enjoying what I've got here.
Wow. Yeah, that's really cool. It's almost like the birds were cooperating with the pandemic. They've allowed us to all do local chasing, because there's been plenty to see without even going that far. And we had a fun Christmas bird count. It was different. Like there were some things. I was talking
about my rufous-capped warbler.
Oh, sorry. Go talk about your rufous-capped warbler.
I was just saying. You said birds in my backyard.
Yes,
I mean, literally. Yeah. I'm so excited.
No, that's a pretty awesome one. And it's been fun watching us, because I get the Val Verde County rare bird alerts, and it's been fun to see that a lot of people have gotten to see that. It has hung out for a long time.
Yeah.
In the exact same spot. He
In the
doesn't like
exact same spot.
Wow.
Yeah.
But the clay colored thrush that's rare here was not near as impressive. Did not light my fire. All right, so go ahead, Noreen.
No, I was just going to say that it was interesting this year for our species count for Christmas bird count was high, even though we were missing some common things. Like there were sparrows this year. Whew, I don't know what happened, but no sparrows, like almost no sparrows. And so there were a lot of common sparrow species that we would normally see that we were missing. But then on the other hand, we got like 4 or 5 different sandpiper species, whereas normally we'll get, you know, maybe 1 or 2 picked up on our count. So it was kind of just, it's interesting that we had such a high species count despite missing some of our common things. So.
Well, as we kind of wrap up, because we're getting to that 30-minute kind of time period and everybody's gonna have to go to work soon, unfortunately. You know, Laura, we're so excited to have you join us as part of the Birding with Extension team. And be a guide. So what are you most excited for? What are your must-see birds down here? And then any social activities that you are looking forward to?
Or just other stuff along the way because
why do you love us? That's
in the area.
I'm looking forward to seeing other humans in person. And I'm getting vaccinated next week, my first vaccine next week. So I'm excited about that. Yay. And after that, I've actually been studying to give the vaccines. Like I'm getting accredited so I can get my certification so I can give vaccines. I'm a pharmacist. So hopefully I'll be out in nursing homes and helping out, you know, with administering vaccines. So that's hopefully by then we can all be in a very safe place and just really hanging out with other birders. And it just is the part right now that seems the most exciting. And of course, you know, I love Kickapoo State Park. It's like one of my favorite places that I've ever been. I just, so many great birds and the bats, and it's just a fantastic place to visit. And so I'm really looking forward to and I appreciate you inviting me to be involved with this because it's a very exciting place to be birding.
Kickapoo is such a hidden treasure, and I feel like it's one that we haven't maybe highlighted as much sometimes as we're talking about sites, in part because it's public land and we like to highlight a lot of our private places as well. But Kickapoo is a park that a lot of people hadn't heard of, and the first time I ever went out there, it was actually middle of September, so it was a little warm still, and my primary purpose wasn't birding, but you know, the biologists that work out there were like, yeah, we're not a park with water. We don't have river access. So when it's the warmer parts of the year, nobody goes out there because that's a big draw. So it's really a place that you can kind of have all to yourself, and their number of species seen is incredible.
Yeah.
Yes. And we will have the park to ourselves, won't we?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So and that's one of the cool things, and I know, Laura, that's one of your must-see items on our website is the bats that come out. And the cool thing about that, so we do a benefit dinner, birds, bats, and owls. And that benefit dinner goes to support not only, so Kickapoo Caverns has invested in bird blinds and bird management and some bird waterers. So we'll support their bird management practices there at Kickapoo, but also it goes to fund our youth birding programs like Rio Diablo Birding Camp. Maureen and I also do a smaller localized camp called Wild Kids Camp, and that features a day of birds. And so, but this year, primarily, those funds are going to be going to sponsor the Rio Diablo Birding Camp, which is our new advanced youth birding camp. And so we're super excited to be launching that with Brian Clock this year. And so if anyone out there is interested, I think Laura, hopefully maybe we can talk Laura into going and seeing the bats.
Oh, yeah. Anytime.
That wasn't hard.
Be there.
So, but definitely we'll head out to see birds, bats, and owls, and on that benefit dinner and that special trip at Birding the Border. So, Maureen, you have anything else?
I don't think so, except that I'm even more excited than I already was for Birding the Border. It's exciting. We've been saying, you know, Birding the Border 2021. We didn't get to do it last year when we thought we'd get to, and when you turn the page on the calendar and you're like, it's 2021, we get to do Birding the Border in just a few months. So that's exciting. And Emily, how many people are signed up for photography, and how many spots are left?
Okay, so currently we have 2 photographers signed up to do the photography track. Now that we have gone ahead and lumped the photography track together, and I know that that was not our original plan, everyone, but due to preparing for COVID-19 guidelines that could be in place in April, we went ahead and grouped that photography track. So the max amount of photographers that can go out, or birders who could join the photography track, is 6. No, 8.
Yeah, 6. 8.
6 is max. 8.
It's either
6 or 8 is max. I'm not. It's 8. What did I say? 8.
Anyhow,
8.
we will post and clarify
I'll post,
how
but
many
I think
people can
it's
go.
8. I think you can have. I think we max out at 8 birders.
Let's see if I can find it.
The numbers.
Anyhow, bottom
Anyway.
line is that we purposely set the numbers for photography smaller so that you can have that experience with working with Laura more closely on improving your photography skills and, you know, your bird identification skills and seeing really awesome things. We made that group smaller on purpose compared to some of our other groups. So
yes, and absolutely. And you don't have to be. I guess if they wanted to go on the photography track with Laura as their guide, they technically don't have to be a photographer, but you do need to know that you would be sitting in blinds, taking a lot more time with photography. So if you really want to go out with Laura, get your camera out, start practicing. She's excited to take y'all.
our maximum is 8. I just looked it up. We know 8 people.
I knew it. 8.
All right.
Have a great time. Laura's going to be a great guide. Laura, anything else you want to cap off before we end today's Cup Chat? You are the photography guide. You are completely special. You are the only one. And we're so excited to have you.
Well, I just like, again, I think we got the coolest birds. You know, we have these great endemic species that you can't find anywhere else. You can't find golden cheek warblers or black-cap vireo anywhere else than this area. And you probably get the best access with the largest populations in this area. And that area that we're going to be visiting. So, you know.
Yeah, really cool fun fact though is we have seen the black-cap vireos at the photography track location in Val Verde County as well as in Kinney County. So you could get black-caps in both counties. If you are in the Century 100 Club, definitely look at some of those where the different sites are, because you could be racking up your county totals too. So.
And it made me think of it as you were talking about the behavior of black-cap vireos. When we went out to Kickapoo in May, one of the things that Brian got a picture of was a female black-cap vireo coming in to the water. And so that was kind of fun, because that was it was just neat to see them in that behavior, because usually if I see them, well, usually I'm hearing them because we're out doing surveys, but if you see them, you know, it's just real quick and up in the brush and kind of that glimpse. And it was fun. Like you said, she didn't hang around very long, but it was really fun to get to see her come down to the water. That was at Kickapoo. So that was neat.
Yeah.
Well, absolutely. Yeah. Well, it has been a wonderful morning and a great way to kick off 2021. We will be back for Cup Chat next week.
For a showdown. I had to check my calendar real quick. Brian and I are having a showdown about splitting versus lumping. So if you want to learn more about why that matters, and if you want to hear me and Brian argue about it, join us next week.
And I will be moderating. And I will like to say, for once, it is going to make my heart a little bit happy that Maureen and Brian are arguing about something versus me and Maureen arguing about something. As much as Maureen and I are great friends, we definitely are great enough friends that we agree to disagree on several points.
Right.
So I'm glad you're agreeing to disagree with somebody else next week.
Yes, definitely.
So anyway, splitting versus lumping, and I do have an opinion on the splitting versus lumping. As a birder in the group, no, be prepared. I may write up a dissertation for you.
This just got even more exciting. Okay.
Yeah, and it's just a beginner birder opinion, because I find it very frustrating some days listening to the two.
Well, sounds good. Well, thank you so much again, Laura, for joining us this morning, and we're excited.
Yes.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Oh, another one really quick thing before we cap off the afternoon is the flights to Del Rio with American Airlines have started again. So if you are joining us from out of state and are coming to Birding the Border or Learn to Bird or any of our birding programs, here in the Valverde Del Rio area. The flight service to Del Rio has come back online. So we're super excited that y'all can fly in. As always, I make the offer that as long as you let me know ahead of time that I need to pick you up from the airport, we will make sure you get picked up from the airport and delivered to your hotel or delivered to Enterprise to pick up a rental car. So let us know. It is a very small airport, so we'll come get you if you need us to come get you. So anyways, everybody have a wonderful week and a happy 2021.
Yeah, happy 2021, everybody.
Thank you for joining us, Laura, and we will see y'all next week.
Thank you.